Okay. హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ సన్ మాతాజీ. సో టుడేస్ టాపిక్ అంటే ఈ రోజు మనం మాట్లాడుకునే టాపిక్ వచ్చేసి ప్రహ్లాద్ మహారాజుడి యొక్క గ్లోరీస్. సో ఆయన యొక్క విషయాలు మనం చర్చించుకోబోతున్నాం. అండ్ ఈరోజు ప్రహ్లాద్ మహారాజ్ గురించి మాట్లాడడానికి యాప్ట్గా మనం ఉన్న గ్రూప్లో అందరికంటే తక్కువ ఏజ్ ఉన్న మాతాజీ అయిన వర్ధిని మాతాజీ. ఐ హోప్ షీ స్టడీయింగ్ ఇన్ 10th క్లాస్, రైట్ మాతాజీ?
No, Prabhuji, 9th class.
9th class. Okay, she's from 9th class. And tanu Vinay Prabhu valla kumarte, no Vinay Prabhu gari kumarte. So she's going to take the session on glories of Prahlad Maharaj today. So Mataji, do you want to continue? Do you want to share something?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm sharing a PPT.
Video on cheyamma. Yeah, thank you.
Prabhuji, share screen access karo.
Access leda. Okay, 1 minute. Sharing option. Okay. Oh, I think I need to stop the sharing 1 minute. Yeah, now you can go ahead. Yeah.
So Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis. So today I'm going to talk about a very familiar name heard in our mytho, Prahlad, Bhakt Prahlad, Prahlad Maharaj. So before we begin, I would like to tell I'm not that good in Telugu. So if any mistakes, please do apologize me. So in current situation, our current Kali Yuga and generation, there are quite a few places where even God is not worshipped, or people worship God just for their advantage. And even there are many parents and many people who think that children are, there's no need of children learning about mythology, children having some spiritual knowledge. So this story tells us, like even many of you parents are there who think that children don't need anything about why from such a small age. Inta chinnapadi nunchi enduku. There's lots of lifetime that you can learn about all these, but no. Bhakt Prahlad Maharaj's story tells us that age, it doesn't depend on age. Devotion can be attained any moment in the life, and age doesn't matter, whether it be a toddler, a teenager like me, or a young adult, or an old age person. It doesn't matter. So today we'll begin our session, and the story starts in Dwapar Yuga, the reign of Krishna, Pandavas. So this setting is seated when Yudhishthir and Narad Muni are in a sabha, and we talk about Bhakt Prahlad Maharaj. So Yudhishthir questions Narad Muni that he was such a good person, he was such a good child, then why did Hiranyakashipu think to kill him? He was such a Suputra. So first, the contents are, we'll go from the curse of Jay and Vijay, the boon of Brahma, and then the glories of Prahlad Maharaj mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, continuing with the qualities of Bhakt Prahlad, which we should also, as devotees and as humans, we should also have. So Narad Muni tells that Jay and Vijay, most of you might be knowing about Jay and Vijay. They were the Dwarpal of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. So Jay and Vijay were the gods, and they were discussing in Vaikuntha that our Lord has all the pleasures of life, all happiness, everything, but he just doesn't have the pleasure of wrestling. So our beloved Krishna, he does a Leela, and then the Sanat Kumaras arrive at the gate of Vaikuntha. So now Jay and Vijay, due to their short height, they think that they are 4 small kids. And obviously they can't allow kids into Vaikuntha is what they feel. And then they don't allow, they stop Sanat Kumaras from entering Vaikuntha. So Sanat Kumaras tell that God is everyone's and there's no discrimination. But still Jay and Vijay object them, and Sanat Kumaras were forced to curse Jay and Vijay, that they will have to take 100 births in earth as enemies of Vishnu. So now they are eternal devotees of Lord Vishnu, and so then as they request Vishnu, Lord Vishnu appears in front of them, and Lord Vishnu gives them 2 options. that either to take 100 janmas, 100 births on earth as their devotee, or take only 3 births as their enemies on earth. So as these two eternal devotees, Jay and Vijay, can't stay too away from their beloved Lord, they accept the condition that they will take birth as enemies in earth, and just for 3 janmas. So these both brothers take 3 janmas in the different 3 looks. Different 3 yugs, sorry. Satyug, Tretayug, and Dwapar. In Satyug, they appeared as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And in Treta Yuga, they appeared as Ravan and his brother Kumbhakarna. And in Dwapar Yuga, they were Shishupal and Dantavakra. So bringing the story to Satyug, Jay took the birth as Hiranyaksha, who was later killed by the Vamana avatar of Lord Vishnu, and Vijay took the birth as Hiranyakshipu, who was killed by Narsimha avatar of Lord Vishnu. So Hiranyakshipu was an evil-minded person. So after the death of Hiranyakshipu decided that the gods can kill me. He was afraid that if the gods do kill him. So he goes to the Mandara Parvata and he does a penance. He does tapas to impress Brahmadeva. And as according to that, Brahma appears in front of him. So now what is this? He appears and then Hiranyakshipu, he just keeps on buttering Brahmadeva that you are the best god and all this, like how we do in, like when you want something, especially salesmen, what do? They want to sell some product. Women are the best option. What do? Is they go, oh ma'am, you're looking so gorgeous, like that, like this. Oh, and this set obviously will look good on you. And they come on, keep on icing. So I'll share an incident from my life too, if you don't mind. I had a teacher in my school recently. So he's a new teacher and a very strict one. He's a very strict one, but I understood that he is a devotee of Sai, Lord Sai. So he's such a one, if he sees name, Sai, and then he is obviously an eternal devotee too. So what happens, he's a very strict teacher and we have the first introductory session. I was very quiet in that session. So then what happens is that he asked us a question and the entire class remained silent. So I was afraid of him as he's a very strict teacher, the most strict teacher in our school history. So I silently unmuted him. So my name is Sai Vardhini. So he saw the Sai and then he said, oh wow, Sai, I like it. So then I understood his weakness is Sai. So what did I do? We missed a project actually. So we missed a project and Sir told he's not going to reconduct it. A group of us missed it due to some assembly. We had an assembly to do. So what happened was that he told I'm not going to give a chance, and we had so many points, so many marks based on that. So what did I do? I changed my WhatsApp profile picture into Sai Baba Wala, and I softly tried to convince him, sir, this is Sai Vardhini and all, and khatam. I applied some makhan, I applied some butter, and he fell for it. Okay, dear, I will. So such kind, even this Hiranyakshipu did to Lord Brahma, that you are the most powerful god. So then Brahma understood, okay, he's, trying to convince me. And then he asked, what do you want? Boom. So Hiranyakshipu, the very clever one, he tells, I want to be immortal, Amar. No one is going to kill me. Then Brahma says that I'm only not immortal. How can you bless with such a boon? Okay, so then Hiranyakshipu says, he asks for such a very tricky boon. He says that no one on this earth can kill me. Like neither in my house nor outside my house, neither in the daytime nor during the night, not by any shastra, neither by any astra. So Brahma granted this boon, and then Hiranyakshipu, he thought that he himself is the most powerful person, and then he started ruining everyone. He started creating lots of havoc all around the world, destroying people. Like Hiranyakshipu kills Brahmins and stops their yagna in fear of, because due to these yags, he fears that the gods will become more powerful than him. And there's lots of possibility of God killing him. And the requirements were for yagna, milk, ghee, flowers, and fruit. So ghee is obtained from milk, which is obtained from cows. So Hiranyakshipu targeted cows. He killed the cows, and then he started killing the trees too. The trees from, and he left the only trees like from which only no fruits or flowers can be born. Only the ones which have thorns. And if you see, does it resemble somewhere? Even our today's civilization is such kind, Hiranyakshipu's. Because you see the government, It keeps on, whenever you go traveling, we do travel. And on highways, you see there's no flower wala plants, only ones which have green leaves and thorns. Why so? Because the government says if we keep the flowers and fruits, then people will, there's no other, there it's advantage. They can pluck it and they can go enjoy. So we can't let that happen. So so this is just Hiranyakashipu's civilization and how we don't respect. It's exactly his civilization. And this is what Bhakt Prahlad, Narad Muni said that we want to change. So the story begins. So Prahlad's mother, when Bhakt Prahlad was in his mother's womb, there was a great war between the demigods and the demons. And the demigods were obviously led by Indradev and the demons were led by Hiranyakashipu. So the demigods eventually entered the cities of the demons and then they started ransacking the deserted buildings, started destroying the deserted buildings. And Indradev, he himself entered the palace of Hiranyakashipu in his absence and he took Prahlad's mother, the queen. So Narad, he started thinking that because Hiranyakashipu's son will also be a demon and he's going to be, there's a lots of possibility that he's going to destroy the world. He's going to be a snake. So Narad appeared and stopped him and said, don't take her, it's not right. So then Indra answered that I'm not going to do anything wrong. She's carrying a child within her womb who is Hiranyakashipu's son. She's therefore carrying a son who is snake, who is very vicious. And I just want to keep her in my custody until the child is born, and then we can take him away. So he had no other purpose, but Narada protested. He wouldn't agree. So she's carrying a great soul within her womb, what Narada said. Don't try to kill him, or you couldn't kill him, since he's a great devotee. So as Narada tried to convince Indradev, he left the queen, Prahlad's mother, there, and Narada gave her shelter at his ashram. He takes Prahlad's mother, Kayadu, to his ashram, and then as he was a great devotee, he spoke the spiritual science of Krishna consciousness to her daily. And our little Prahlad, who had developed within her womb, heard all these discussions and he never forgot this. So this way, when he was in his womb, just like how Abhimanyu heard about Chakravyuh, how to enter the Chakravyuh when he was in Subhadra's womb, similarly, Prahlad also heard about Krishna consciousness, that Hiranyakashipu is a demon, a very bad demon who is creating lots of havoc all around the world, doing lots of pap. So Prahlad also gained lots of knowledge of which an eternal devotee should have when he was in his womb. So now Prahlad Maharaj, coming to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think current might have gone in their house. That's what I'm suspecting. Yeah, Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. So coming to the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 7, chapter 10 chapters are dedicated to Bhakt Prahlad. So chapter 5 says Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj did not carry out the orders of his teachers. Hiranyakashipu assigned Prahlad Maharaj's education responsibilities to the Asura Guras, the Asura Guru, Hiranyakashipu's sons. He had two sons, Sanda and Amarka. Okay, so Prahlad Maharaj's gurus were Sanda and Amarka, who were the children of the Asur gurus Shukracharya. So Prahlad Maharaj did not carry out the orders of his teachers because he was always engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu. As described in this chapter, Narad Muni describes that Hiranyakshipu tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj, even by having a snake bitten by him, attacking by soldiers, and by putting him under the feet of elephants. But still he was unsuccessful, just due to the spirituality present in Prahlad Maharaj. So Hiranyakshipu's spiritual master, Shukracharya's sons, Sanda and Amarka, taught Prahlad Maharaj about politics, economics, and other material activities, which he did not care for their instructions. Instead, he continued to be a pure devotee. Prahlad Maharaj actually never liked the idea of the politics, which mentioned that the politics discriminated between one's father and enemies. Because he was spiritually inclined, he was equal to everyone. So he had never laid his interest in politics, economics, and other subjects taught by Sanda and Amarka. So once Hiranyakshipu inquired from his son, what's the best thing what he has learned from his teachers? So Prahlad Maharaj replied that a man engrossing in a materialistic consciousness, thinking that this is mine and that belongs to my enemy. So should I give up this householder life and go to the forest to worship the Supreme Lord? Which means Prahlad Maharaj is saying that we should not, as humans, we should not have that discrimination within us, that this is mine and that is my enemy. So I'm not going to, do that. And that enmity present in us, that partiality and discrimination present in us should be given up. And he mentions that you should not be attached so much to the materialistic life and go to the forest to worship the Supreme Lord, as that is the most bliss. So once Hiranyakshipu inquired, and then when by getting this answer from Prahlad Maharaj, he got angry. He got angry and he summoned the gurus of Prahlad Maharaj. He confronted them for what is he teaching. As Hiranyakshipu, when he heard about this devotional service of Prahlad, he decided that this small boy has been polluted by some friend in his school, in his Gurukul. So he advised the teachers to take care of this boy so that he would not become a Krishna conscious devotee. However, when the teachers inquired Prahlad why he was going against the teachings, Prahlad Maharaj taught the teachers that the mentality of ownership is false and that he was therefore trying to become an unalloyed devotee. Yeah, unalloyed devotee means he represents that he wants to become a pure heart, a pure person who is an eternal devotee of Lord Vishnu. So the teachers, being very angry at this, they threatened the boy with many fearful conditions. Then they taught him the best of their ability and brought him again in front of his father. So then Hiranyakshipu again affectionately took his son Prahlad on his lap and then inquired from him what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers again. So as usual, Prahlad very calmly, he began praising the 9 processes of the devotional service, which are the Kirtanas and Sravanam. So the Asura Shrestha, which is Hiranyakshipu, which means the most Shresth, the most powerful one in the Asura. He always, Prahlad always represented, always, called his father Asura Shrestha with respect. So this Asura Shrestha, Hiranyakshipu, was extremely angry on the teachers, not on Prahlad, for having wrongly trained Prahlad. So he again summoned the teachers and informed that Prahlad was and when the teachers informed that Prahlad was automatically a devotee and he did not listen to the instructions, what he was telling him was nothing taught by them. So Hiranyakshipu inquired Prahlad, where had he learned this Vishnu Bhakti? So Prahlad Maharaj replied that those who are attached to family life do not develop Krishna consciousness. He means that those, usually as humans, we are very attached to our family, all the materialistic, we are very obsessed with all, whether it be a toddler, a teenager, or any old person. We are always obsessed to our things, our surroundings, our families. But this is what he's saying, that no, that attachment with the materialistic life does not develop Krishna consciousness within us. So instead, we suffer repeated birth and death in this material world, and then it's just like chewing the same thing we chewed. So Prahlad explained that the duty of every man is to take shelter of a pure devotee and thus become eligible to understand Krishna consciousness. So he again tries to convince his father that the materialistic life is just temporary. Everything is temporary, whether it be the hard times or the happy times. So he tells that we should not be too attached, too obsessed. Instead, try to be a detached being and live a happy Krishna conscious life. So enraged with this answer, Hiranyakashipu threw Prahlad, and then he ordered his assistants to kill him. So there were many tries made. He was thrown under the feet of elephants, subjected him to hellish conditions, and he mixed poison in the food he eats. But still, all the time, he survived. He even tried to throw Prahlad from the cliff of a mountain, and in 1,000 other ways. But due to the bhakti present in Prahlad, he always survived. So now I'm moving ahead to our next chapter. This was chapter 5, in which Prahlad Maharaj mentioned that you should not be too attached to our surroundings, to our materialistic life, as everything is temporary. Now take an example of a thief. Thief risks his own life just for making his family happy. But what is he doing? He's too attached, moh, which we call in Hindi, moh. He was too attached to his family, and for making his family happy, he risked his own life. Thieves risk their own life, but in return, and they forget. With this moh, with this attraction, obsessment to their materialistic life, people forget, people lose their path, they do bad deeds. And this is why moh is considered very dangerous. And this is why Prahlad Maharaj, Narad Muni mentioned that Prahlad Maharaj says you should be a detached person. And that's the only way you can reach the God. So moving ahead to our next chapter, chapter 6, says when Prahlad instructs his demonic...
On your video, Mataji, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
No problem. I'm sorry to disturb the flow. Yeah.
Yes. So in this chapter 6, Prahlad describes, Narad Muni describes how Prahlad instructed his class friends. Although now here, one point to note about Prahlad's quality, that Prahlad is a pure devotee and all around him are Asur children, the children of the demons. So Prahlad didn't even discriminate like this, saying that I'm a pure devotee, why should I teach them all this? He never had the discrimination. They're his friends, he loved them. Such a pure love, such a pure heart, no discrimination and no ahankar that I'm such a pure devotee, why should I teach them? They are nothing. Usually we often humans, we get struggled with all this, which we'll talk about later in the section of qualities of Prahlad. So this chapter 6 tells us how Prahlad Maharaj changed his classmates' path to devotion from all the, the Asuric tendency. He shifted them to a devotional path. So in this chapter, Prahlad Maharaj describes to his friends, he's speaking to his friends who were all sons of demons, as already mentioned, that when human beings are children, they should be taught. Now, as already mentioned before, people think that why should a child be taught all about devotion and spirituality from such a young age when they have loads of life left? And, this one thing to be noted is that when a person is young, whether a person is young or old, all the desires remain same. But the thing is that why should we learn all about God, the spirituality we should awaken in ourselves at a young age, is that our desires, at this time, we have the capacity to fulfill our desires. Just the difference in old age, when we come to know about all the spirituality, devotion, and everything, is that the desires remain the same, but our capacity, our competence for fulfilling the desires is completely different. We don't have that ability to fulfill our desires. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says that one should be very interested in this all spirituality and devotion since a childhood. It's very important. It's very crucial for a person to awaken Krishna consciousness from childhood itself. So in the beginning of our lives, many people think that in the beginning of our lives, let's enjoy the material facilities. And in the old age, we may become the Krishna consciousness, but such materialistic thoughts are always useless because the old age person, one cannot be trained in the spiritual way when he's old, because you see, now you are a teenager, and then you think this is only the age, and you pass on, you play, you get obsessed to your materialistic life, and then you waste these 10 years. And next you go ahead, you grow, and then you become an adult. And then there are so many responsibilities on you. You should start earning a job, and then so much pressure on you. And again, more 10 years wasted. And like that, settling ourselves in our life again 10 years. And then where's the time to awaken ourselves? And people think old age is the right time. But no, that's what Prahlad Maharaj says, that a person should have all the knowledge of spirituality since a childhood. And he himself is an example. His story tells us that he was just a 5-year-old boy, but still despite being a 5-year-old boy, he had no obsessment to anything. Usually children, they love toys and all. But no, Prahlad Maharaj, he was very detached person, and that made him special. So now, therefore, from the beginning of life, one should engage in devotional service. So this is the duty of all living entities, all the living beings. So materialistic education is infected by 3 modes, okay? But the spiritual education, for which there is a great need, usually people think that spirituality, it's just a myth. There's no need of it, but that's the main thing which people ignore. So he says that spirituality is the great need in the human society. It's transcendental. So Prahlad Maharaj disclosed the secret of how he had received instructions from Narad Muni when he was in the womb in this chapter. So by accepting the lotus feet of Prahlad Maharaj, who is a Pampara succession, which means that the one who is able to understand the mode of spiritual life. So in accepting this mode of activity, there is no need for any material qualifications, is what he believes. So hope people are understanding my point. So moving ahead to chapter 7. So this was all about chapter 6, where Prahlad Maharaj tells his friends, and you can see in his name itself says, P for purity, R for respectful, admiring, honorable, loving, attracting, detached and determined person. So now chapter 8 says how Lord Narasimha slayed the king of demons. So now in this chapter, we come across all the several practices made by Hiranyakashipu to kill Prahlad. So as already mentioned,
are you moving any slides, or are you there in the same slide? I'm sorry.
I'm in the same side.
Okay. I was just in a dilemma whether, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I was in this slide when Prahlad is teaching his friends.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji.
So Bhakt Prahlad. So the chapter 8 gives us the knowledge of how Hiranyakashipu, he tried to slay Bhakt Prahlad with all the atrocities and so many obstacles in making. First, he pushed Prahlad into a room full of devious snakes, and our little Prahlad wasn't scared. He just sat down and he started praying to the god. And this is how the snakes, they just vanished without even harming. And all the several attempts made with the elephants, the soldiers attacking him, everything was just, was useless, was unsuccessful. Everything was unsuccessful. So he tried all sorts of methods. Prahlad was attacked by the soldiers, thrown over a cliff and into a well, trampled by an elephant, everything, but nothing seemed to work out. So finally, Hiranyakashipu asked his demon sister Holika. So apart from Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they also had another sister called Holika. Now Holika could not be hurt by fire. This was her vardhan, that her specialty, like, she couldn't be, although she sets herself in fire, the fire couldn't destroy her. So she decided to use this magic power of hers to kill the boy. So she pulled him onto her lap and then sat in the middle of the bonfire, thinking that he would burn to death while she will remain safe, according to the Vardhan. So, but the gods didn't like her evil intentions and took away her magic power. So Prahlad sat in the fire and prayed to Vishnu, who saved him while the wicked Holika was burned away in this bonfire. So that's why we celebrate Holika Dahan. This story gave birth to our festival Holi. And the day and the night before Holi, we celebrate Holika Dahan. And this Holika Dahan has a lot of significance where we burn all our bad habits. Just like Bhogi, over here also we burn all our bad habits. It's just a resemblance how Holika, such an evil-intentioned person, such an evil-intentioned demon, got it got burned away in this bonfire. Similarly, we also should burn away all our bad habits in this Holika fire. So now what happens is that Hiranyakashipu is astonished. He's surprised to see that his own sister died. His own sister died in this bonfire according to her vardhan, according to her gift, which wasn't possible. So he now starts suspecting Prahlad that he must have some power. So where do you get these natural powers from? Hiranyakashipu screamed. So then from the same place do you do, Prahlad says, from the god. He says very calmly, very mindfully. So in great anger, Hiranyakashipu said, God, what is God? Where is God? There's nothing like a God. It's just a myth. So my God is everywhere, says Prahlad. And then everywhere, asks Hiranyakashipu. Then he replies, yes, everywhere. So then Hiranyakashipu takes his sword and he points to a pillar in the palace and he says, is he in this pillar? Then Prahlad says, yes, he is everywhere, so he's also in this pillar. So then the mighty demon drew back his sword and struck the pillar into pieces. And then just as his sword fell on it, the pillar burst. And then with a roar that defended half the cosmos, a wonderful being jumped, which is our Lakshmi Narasimha Swami. Yes, he is the dread, he's a half beast, half lion, and half human. So he was able to answer the dread challenge of Prahlad's father, and it caused a brief but terrible struggle. So he says, Hiranyakashipu gets angry. He again challenges Lord Narasimha for a fight. So Lord Narasimha, what does he do? He lifts Hiranyakashipu. He goes to the mid of the house, neither outside nor inside the house. The Gadapa, what we say in Telugu. He takes him there. He stands there, and it's the moment of twilight. It's neither the day nor the night. It's twilight. And according to him, he is not a creature created by Brahmadev. So he's not the creature created by Brahmadev. And he doesn't use any astra, any shastra. He carries Hiranyakashipu in his lap. And with his nails, he tears open his chest. And here Hiranyakashipu dies, the end of Hiranyakashipu. So this is what our chapter 8 tells. This is what chapter 8 tells in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Lord Narasimha killed Hiranyakashipu. And now our Lord Narasimha, he is now terrible, horrible. He turned out of lots of anger burst out of him. And then after Hiranyakashipu was killed, the Lord continued to be very angry. And the demigods headed by Lord Brahma too could not pacify him. So even Mother Lakshmi, our goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she could not dare to come before Lord Narasimha. So what did Lord Brahma do? He asked Prahlad Maharaj to go forward and pacify Lord's anger, because he is the only one through which Lord Narasimha could calm down. So Prahlad Maharaj, being confident of the affection of his master, he approached forward, and he wasn't afraid of Lord Narasimha at all. So he very gravely appeared before Lord Narasimha and the lotus feet and offered him respectful obeisances. So he tried to cool him down, being very much affectionate towards Prahlad. He put his hand on Prahlad's head, and because he was being personally touched by the Lord, Prahlad immediately achieved Brahma Jnana, means spiritual knowledge. So thus he offered his prayers to the Lord to calm down and in full spiritual knowledge and full devotional ecstasy. So since that day, Prahlad, you can see in the idol of Lord Narasimha also, Prahlad is sitting on his right lap and Goddess Lakshmi sits on his left lap. And Prahlad was the only one in all three lok, the whole entire world, who could pacify Lord Narasimha. So this is how Lord Prahlad, the the fourth avatar of Lord Vishnu took place. And now when we come across Prahlad, his abilities, his qualities, which even we should possess. So now let's come across the qualities which inspire us also become like Prahlad. So this sloka in chapter 4 says, Tasya daitya pade putra chatvara paramadbhuta. Just a minute. Yes, here is the sloka. The sloka says, Tasya daityapade putras chatva paramadbhuta. Prahlado bunmaham slesham bunarmaham upasika. So according to this, Hiranyakshipu had 4 sons, Samhalada, Anhulada, Prahlada, and Ahlada. So Prahlada was the youngest one, and as also mentioned, he was a very unalloyed devotee, which means such a pure-hearted one. We say he has a pravitraman. He never willed to, hurt anyone. He was such a down-to-earth person. Just imagine if you have loads of fame, money, and no sorrow. He was Hiranyakshipu's son, about whom everyone feared in this whole world. No one could dare to insult him. He had all the happiness he required. But what kind of person you would be? You would be ahankari, lots of attitude, have a lot of this, no one can do anything to me, right? So but our Prahlad wasn't like that. He had loads of Ashwar, but still he led a simple life. So usually what would we do if we're in Prahlad's place? Hiranyakshipu attacked him so many times. All the demons behaved very cruelly, very barbarically with Bhakt Prahlad. But what did he do? He remained calm. He gave each and everyone the respect they deserved. So we know that he is Hiranyakshipu. He also knew that Prahlad knew that Hiranyakshipu is destroying everything. He's creating loads of havoc in the earth. So what would we do if we were in Prahlad's place? We would spare that injustice, right? Wouldn't we? Pangakule now say, thinking that he's such a dangerous person, that he can destroy us in just a jiffy, right? So, but Prahlad went against his father. He was completely detached from all this materialistic happiness. He went against his father, saying that you are wrong. And he was always concentrated on Vishnu Bhakti. So this was one of his greatest ability, that after all, he was 5-year-old, but he had no attachment, no attraction, no obsession to any of the objects. He never reminded, this is one of the things which Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. During the reign of Hiranyakshipu, all the people were feared. They were afraid that he's going to destroy them. And in that fear, they reminded Lord Vishnu. But Prahlad was only the one who never reminded him only in danger, while other humans did so. So we would what would we do if we were in Prahlad's place was my question, right? We would maintain good relation with our father, because we know if we had a good impression, he had a good impression on us, we could succeed his throne. We could ascend and get all that luxury he had, but Prahlad wasn't like that. He didn't have any greed, any move for anything. He went against him, and that the greatest supreme power in the world is Vishnu. And as we see, Prahlad, P for purity. Prahlad's biggest quality is purity. So now coming up to Hiranyakshipu, he was an antheist, which means that he didn't believe in God, but what he used to do, he used to also spread awareness among people against God, that God is a myth. In Telugu, we say pracharam. Pracharam he used to do against God. And then as people were afraid of him, they also started believing him. So nowadays, when we take today's view, what do? Parents and children, what happens when parents and children don't agree on each and everything? When they disagree on something, what happens? Food not being eaten up, doors being banged shut, right? Or when the parents can't afford you something, what do you say? Some teenagers, they leave their house saying that I can survive myself. I don't need anyone. I don't need you. You can get me. I'll show you that what I can get myself. I can achieve, and I'll show you. Right? And the kids leave the home, or the adults, what do? They leave their parents in their old age just for some small irritating behavior, is what in their point of view. But here, what happens? Hiranyakshipu was such a cruel person, wasn't he? But Prahlad was always respectful to his father. Though he tried to kill him, he made several attempts to destroy him. Yet he never behaved in a rude manner. he always remained polite and respectful to his father. So he never had any attitude, any ahankar in him that he's an amazing and pure devotee. He learned everything from his mom's womb. So he didn't have this, ghamand, which say, he didn't have this ghamand. He could have also told, like he could have even more attitude than Hiranyakshipu, that you're nothing. I have lots of bliss in myself. And he could have not told his classmates, all the people, all the demons in their kingdom about Lord Vishnu. But he was completely the opposite. He didn't have any ahankar, he didn't have any attitude in him, and he always tried to do the kalyan of people, to think good for them. So our next sloka in Bhagavad Gita, it says, Brahmanya Shila Sampana Satya Sandho Chittedriya Atmavat Sarva Bhutanam Ekapriya Srihitam Dasvatsana Taryandi Pitravadina Vatsala Brihatvasri Snigdho Bruhashvaishara Bhavana Vidyarthi Rupa Janmadhyo Manasthamba Varjita. So in this shloka, Narad Muni tells us about his qualities. He describes Prahlad's qualities, that he was such a respectable person. R for respect, you see. So Prahlad was such a respectable person that to the ones who deserve respect, he acted like a servant. The elder ones, he acted like a servant. And to the poor, he was like a father. He used to care a lot for people. All the servants in their kingdom, the das, And to his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teachers the spiritual masters. Although his teachers were demons, were evil-minded according to him, but still he considered them the spiritual masters. He gave them loads of respect. And older god brothers he had, he used to be as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead with them. So he treated everyone equally and with respect. Usually, if we are pure, when we are pure, we start disrespecting people. Like we have that ahankar again in us, that I'm such a pure while they are such demon, evil-minded. Why should we respect them, why should we consider them even in our lives? But no, that's not right. If you're pure, remember this, that if you're pure. Remember that you can be pure, but not only you can be pure is what, and there starts our ahankar, that attitudiness. And usually what happens as humans, that too in this Kali Yuga, we easily get influenced by others, and mostly by our close ones. We make their thoughts and views ours, we accept them, but we never go out of the box. So now there is this saying, Mayavadis. We should never listen to the Mayavadis, right? As they end up having a very bad influence on us, our bhakti will get tarnished and get diminished. Like, Unna bhakti kuda potun is what we say. So those are like that, but you're not going to disrespect them just for that reason, that they don't believe in God. So that too, that's one of the most popular and famous belief. And if you take a real life example, you're a very eternal devotee, or you say a parambhakt, and then a group of people are talking and one of them says, I don't believe in God. There's nothing like God. Insults him. He calls his powers and his story a Maya. So how will you feel? You will feel very angry, Kalipotan, right? So that's what, you'll think that he doesn't deserve all what you give him. You start disrespecting that person, hatred, so many negative feelings and opinions for that person. But this is what is the message given by Prahlad, that just imagine his life, Prahlad's life. All the asurs, wherever you see, even the servants, the kings, everyone were asurs, so many asurs all around him. His own father and siblings didn't believe in God, while he was an eternal devotee. But he never got influenced by them. He never applied all their thoughts and views in his life. So nor did he disrespect them just because they didn't believe in God. He still remained polite, obedient to everyone. And now this is what we should learn from him. And this is all about only the influence of others on us. What if, we always, mostly in our lives, we feel we should be good with everyone. Everyone is a part of Krishna. So we, fix it that, okay, I'm going to be a very polite person with everyone. But what if someone behaves very rude with you? You will not behave as you were thinking, right? So this is an example given by one Mataji in our ISKCON. So what she says that shopping, suppose you go for shopping and then you see dresses. You see various dresses, a couple of dresses, 10, 15, so many dresses you see, you try, and the salesman, he keeps on showing you dresses. So many. Suppose you've seen till 50 dresses, and then what do you think? You'd like none of those dresses. And then you change the shop. You say, okay, no, there's no such a good dress which suits you. And then you leave the shop, go to another shop. So what does the salesman do? Wouldn't he get angry on you that, పొద్దున్నుంచి time waste chesindi, but she didn't even buy anything. So, but what does the salesman do? He just gives a smile. Okay, you didn't like it? No problem. Why so? Because he knows that you're not the one who's going to give him the salary. You're not going to give the salary to the salesman. It's his boss who's going to give his salary, right? So similarly, in our life also, when you talk about people, when you come across people who behave very rudely with you, and then you see that, but you remember this, that you're not the one, they're not the one, they're not the Bhagya Vidata, they're not going to design your destiny. Your boss is our Lord, Krishna. So just make him happy. So behave happily, politely with the ones who behave very harshly, very rudely with you. Because you remember one thing, when you behave with someone politely, that makes Krishna happy. And if Krishna is happy, you're obviously happy. So that's the way you're going to deal if someone behaves very rude with you. And that's what Prahlad did. Although all their family members, all the asurs around him tried to attack him, tried to destroy him, several attempts to destroy him, he never left his balance. He behaved very polite. So, and then there's this other thing which tells about his quality. He had full control over his senses and mind. So he had this competence to control, indriyas. All his indriyas, he had this samarth, his ability to control all the indriyas. So, but as humans and as devotees, it's very important for us to control our indriyas, our senses. Because, our mind, the human mind and the human heart are the most complicated thing anyone has. So many feelings, you got rid of greed, you get into ahankar. You got rid of ahankar, you feel possessiveness. Now, possessiveness is also gone, you feel jealousy. So many feelings, so many mixture of feelings, right? So, and these senses, there's this thing that they always want happiness. They always run behind happiness, the sukh, pleasure. No difficulty, no struggle, nothing. Only what they want is happiness. So now in Hindi, there's this saying that जिससे तुम जितना दूर भागोगे वो उतना ही तुम्हारे पास आएगा, और जिससे जितना भूलने की कोशिश करोगे वो उतना ही तुम्हें याद आएगा. Which means the more you try to run away from something, there's something and you don't like it, you're trying to run away from it, the more it runs behind you, the more it comes closer. And the more you try to forget something, or the more you try to forget someone, the more you'll remember it. So what I suggest is run away from happiness. Make God your center of attraction, and you'll see happiness will be running behind you. So now the question is, how are you going to control your senses? Right? This is the main thing in our life, because senses only plays the game. If our senses go wrong, if we are not able to control our senses, then our day is spoiled, our behavior is spoiled with others, right? So now we should know how to control our senses. But before that, can anyone tell me, why did Lord Krishna take birth on earth? Mahesh Prabhuji, can you?
Yes, Mataji. Why Krishna has taken birth?
Yes.
He has taken birth, number one, to please his devotees. Number two, to remove adharma in society. And that is the main reason whenever any incarnations are coming, either it is Narsimha, Lord Narsimha avatar during Prahlada phase, or is it Varaha avatar to deal with Hiranyaksha. He takes incarnation whenever there is adharma is increasing in the society. That is one of the cause. Second cause is to please his devotees, to cherish, to have a wonderful pastimes with devotees. To please devotees, he do take incarnation, or he comes to please us.
Yes, Prabhuji, you're right. So even I expect this answer from everyone, but we forget this, that he also came to teach the lesson of love. Radha and Krishna, I know love, you think that today's generation has completely spoiled the definition of love which was told by Radha Krishna, but love is something, which is not limited to a man and a woman. It can be to your parents, to your siblings, to your Mother Earth, everyone, right? So this lesson, Now, this lesson of love is very important, which everyone forgot it. So I'll just give a brief about it. And it implies in Prahlad's life too. So you suppose you went to a zoo and you see a very beautiful bird. Now it's flying from here and there. It's very cute. Or you see a beautiful bird wandering around your house, around your balcony. You see that, you like it, you get attracted to it. So now, when you love this bird, what are you going to do? You'll bring it home, you'll keep it in the cage and the bird cage, feed it, give it some water. Yes, you'll do that when you love some bird. But does this show that are you loving the bird actually? No, this isn't love, right? Because if you love the bird, then you're going to set it free. This is what Krishna told that, the bird, like it's common in everyone that जिससे सबसे ज्यादा प्यार करते हो, the one whom you love the most, उसी से उसका आसमान छीना जाता है. You keep limitations to that person only, the one you love the most. And what does this show? It shows possessiveness, because you're scared that if that bird goes flying away from you, it's possessiveness. You're scared that you love the bird and you don't want it to run away from you. It should be in front of your eyes. So, but this doesn't mean you're loving the bird. It's just you're attracted to the bird. It's more because it's done for your own selfishness, your own swarth. So that's what Krishna says, that man ko khali karoge tabhi pyar milega, tabhi love milega. If you're able to, get rid of all this possessiveness, jealousy, and greed and everything, then man ko khali karoge, which means that you're not going to have any kind of, except for love, you'll not have any selfishness, fear, nothing. Because where love comes, there can be no possessiveness, jealousy, and all these mixtures which we were talking about. So you should get rid of these. When you get rid of these, then you start loving a person, loving the entire world, right? So there's this famous story in which Krishna asks Narad, he is getting headache. Okay, so and then he's getting headache and he asks Narad to go bring the dust of the feet of his devotees. So Narad goes to the people and he asks, so Krishna wants like that, the dust of your feet. So then the people get afraid. They get scared that, oh no, dust of the feet. If we give that, then they will have to go to the hell. They will have to, bear so many punishments. What is this? For headache, no one is going to use the dust of the feet, right? So that's what the people think when Narad asks them for the dust of the feet. But what do Gopiya, when the same Narad went to Gopiya, the Gopikas of Krishna, and when he asked them, the Gopikas say that, okay, if Krishna's headache is going to go with our dust of the feet, then we are ready. Doesn't matter, no matter if Krishna is happy, we are happy. No matter how many several punishments we will get in the hell. It doesn't matter. Our Krishna is happy, so we are happy. So this is what tells us about actual love. They don't have any swarth. Even they can say, no. If I give that, like the other people, they said, they can, for their own selfish reasons, they can say, no. If I give that, I will need to, get lots of punishment. I don't want to give the dust. But these Gopikas, they think of Krishna's happiness, right? So this is what is the love told by God. This is what the love told by him. So I'm telling you to love the God. Turn all your senses towards him. No selfishness, no possessiveness, nothing. And to love the God. And when you love the God, you'll obviously love your people. Love the people around you. Usually we get, very frustrated easily by what people say. But when someone says something to you, then you go wrong way. Another thought, you think, or you have another different opinion completely, that why is this person, is he some mad or something? What is he like that? So we easily get frustrated. But that's what Krishna says, love everyone, love the God, and then you love everyone. Because everyone has Krishna in them, right? Everyone is made up of Krishna. So what I'm telling you is to love the God. Turn all your senses towards him. Make him the center of attraction. Make him happy. Listen to his stories. Keep his teachings in your heart, in your mind, and you will see you've already overcome your senses just by love. And this love, remember, it's not going to be selfishness, possessiveness, no limitations. It's just pure love. This is the love which was told by Radha Krishna, and also Prahlad also loved his God. And for that reason, because he could see Krishna, all the demons, He loved everyone. And that was the reason he also politely spoke. He also politely behaved with all the demons, and he loved the demons too, although they had evil intentions. So that's what, to control your senses, love everyone. So he was completely free from unnatural pride. Moving to our next topic, which tells about him, he was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arose from his education, beauty. He was very cute. He was very cute, very brilliant. He had so many good habits. And he was the king of Hiranyakashipu, due to whom everyone was afraid. No one would ever try to harm Prahlad because they were scared of Hiranyakashipu. No one tried to insult, no one would ever dare to insult Prahlad because they were afraid of his father. So apart from having so many facilities, so many abilities, he never had any ahankar on himself, saying that, okay, I am such. He never took his advantage also. So there's this story where Narad Muni says Prahlad that he is the greatest devotee. So Prahlad asks him why. So Narad Muni says that for you, you're very lucky. You're an eternal devotee because for you only, Lord Vishnu, he took the avatar of Narsimha to just meet you, for you. So that shows that you are an eternal devotee. But then Prahlad says, no, not for me. He took the Narsimha avatar. He came to kill Hiranyakashipu because he was destroying. He came for his bhakt. He came for his devotees because he was, he was destroying their devotees, their happiness, everything. So he created lots of havoc all around in the devotees. He couldn't see the devotees struggle and suffer. So that's why he took the avatar to kill Hiranyakashipu. Then after some time, again, Prahlad says, no, not even for Hiranyakashipu. He came to, make Brahma's boon true. Brahma's boon, which said that no one could kill Hiranyakashipu, no creature made by Brahma could kill Hiranyakashipu, nor on the day, nor in the night, and not by using any shastra or any astra. So he came to fulfill, Prahlad said that he came to fulfill Brahma's boon, not for me. And then after some time, he says, not even for Brahma's boon. He came to fulfill the Sanat Kumara's curse, which was given to Jaya and Vijay, that they are going to take 3 births on earth as enemies. So for them, he came to fulfill their curse, not for me. He came to fulfill so many people's, but not for me. So this shows his attitude, his behavior, his quality, that although he could have, if we were in Prahlad's place and Narad would tell us that you're so-and-so because for you he came like that, then we would, I'm great. We would get into that pride. But no, Prahlad wasn't like that. He was free from all these. Usually as humans, we have all these things, like we have, as already mentioned before, the greed and the jealousy, the possessiveness, and the ahankar, the attitude, ego in us. So these are the ones which, as humans, it's very difficult for us to get rid of. But as a 5-year-old boy, Prahlad could overcome all those. And after appreciating so much, after Narad Muni appreciated Prahlad so much, saying him eternal devotee, he gave him lots of respect. Still Prahlad rejected. He said, no, not for me. So that shows how a devotee should be. That no greed, nothing. So basically, devotee, we are bhakti. We do bhakti of Lord Krishna. So, and bhakti doesn't mean you're going to cut someone. It just means you're going to respect everyone's emotions, everyone's feelings. So that's what Prahlad proved. So now after Hiranyakashipu, these all were about the qualities of Prahlad, which even as a devotee, we should possess. We should try to. Being obedient, respectful, detached, determined as, and Prahlad was also very determined, as you can see. They were all around Asur. The atmosphere was completely of Asurs. He could have influence of Asurs. He could go on with the Asurs. He could join them. That there's nothing like God. But he was very determined to Lord Vishnu and his bhakti. That no, such firm determination of his could make him alive. Could give him this respect of all what he deserved, all what he is deserving today. So this shows how Prahlad was, all the qualities of Prahlad. Now, after Hiranyakashipu's death, after Lord Narsimha killed Hiranyakashipu and Lord Prahlad Maharaj pacified him, there comes his reign. So now our Prahlad Maharaj, he takes on, sorry, just a minute, I'm not able to find the slide.
problem. Take your time.
Yes, so.
Yeah. If you're not getting the slide, I think you need to escape it and probably go to the specific slide.
Yes, Prabhuji, I got it.
Yeah.
So after Hiranyakashipu's death, Prahlad took on the throne. He ascended the throne, and Prahlad proved to be a very good king. And he prospered the people, prospered his whole reign during. So he performed the Ashwamedh Yagna. He was known as he conquered all the three worlds. He then and he performed the Ashwamedh Yagna, and he then passed his throne to his son. He had 4 sons, and he passed his throne to his eldest son Virochan, and then left for sannyas. So Virochan is the father of Bali Chakravarti, the king of Bali Maharaj, about whom we know Vaman. Lord Vishnu took the Vaman avatar to kill Bali Maharaj, and he's an immortal, as we know. So Prahlad, again, after taking sannyas, after giving the throne to Virochan, Prahlad took sannyas and he left for the forests. And then he again made an appearance when Lord Vaman was about to kill Bali. Prahlad basically came to stop him, but as Vaman, again with his knowledge, convinced Prahlad, Prahlad got convinced, and then he let Vaman successfully kill Bali. So Bali is not actually killed, but okay. Sorry, yeah, he then let Lord Vaman to crush Bali down to the Patal. So this is what was Prahlad's story about. And then the story of Prahlad gives us these certain morals. Okay, that God prevails everywhere. He's in you, he's in me, he's in the screen we are looking at, he's in the food we eat, water, everywhere. So not only in the idols we create, whom we worship, the idols we worship, not in that. God is everywhere. I'm sitting on God, we are talking with God, even we are God, right? So God prevails everywhere. God will always save his devotees. So God, all the avatars, as Mahesh Prabhuji already mentioned, that God is always there for his devotees. He took all the avatars to save his devotees. So, and then this is the main moral which Prahlad Maharaj's stories tell us, that devotion can be practiced at any time of moment. Age isn't a big deal. Age does not matter. And constant faith in God leads to devotion. So as Prahlad Maharaj had constant faith, although he faced so many obstacles, so many atrocities, he had faith in his God that, yeah, nothing is going to happen. God is there to save him. So constant faith is only the main firm string, which is made up of devotion. So now the last moral is the people who are practicing evil will definitely be punished. So now in today's time also, there are many people who don't get their punishment for all these atrocities. Usually in this Kali Yuga, we are not, the adharm wins in the beginning. But at last, Prahlad, as inspired from Prahlad Maharaj's story, it always tells that the adharmis will always get their punishment, maybe tomorrow, maybe later, but the people who are practicing evil will definitely be punished. And these all morals are already mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, recited by Krishna. So Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis, I have shared what I know, all the knowledge I have about Prahlad Maharaj. So that's it for today from my side.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you for the nice session. Is Vinay Prabhu there with you, or is he in some other room?
Yes, Prabhuji, he's in another room. I'll go and call.
That's okay. So actually, I was about to say to Vinay Prabhu, I mean, I don't know if he's there. I think you are saying he is there in another room. But the generation, your generation, when I see, they're very expressive in whatever they are saying. I mean, that was a very nice thing to see that you are very expressive, and you are even whatever the session you are taking, for each and every step you are taking relative examples which are more related in our current environment. That was very nice to see. And even the designing of the PPT, it was well made, and the structure, the agenda of the meeting was also properly covered in a proper fashion. I like the flow of the session very much. And by the way, you are referring to some Mataji told. I think that Mataji is Nitai Sevani Mataji. Am I right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Nitai Sevani Mataji is one of great souls in the earth who actually takes care of ISKCON Vizag. And my kids 2 years back, and they went to training there in Vizag, ISKCON Vizag, where she trained. She's a wonderful devotee. And just to tell about her, she recently, just 1 year back, she did her PhD as well. Just for information, when sometimes, when we talk to people or our relatives or friends who are not at all related to ISKCON, when we say that I have given some spiritual discourse today, or on Prahalad I have given, so they might think in a other angle. So you can always quote, when these are the session with an inspiration from Nitai Sevani Mataji. I heard from her, and I conveyed this today in the session. And she's, I know she's a very elevated soul in the spiritual circles, but even materialistically also, she's not a, by the way, she's not a Andhra or a Telangana lady. She's basically from North, but she, as per her guru's instructions, she took up a service to do some service to Krishna in Vizag. But she doesn't know Telugu initially. She was a Gujarati, if I'm not wrong. So this talks about the devotion. And as I said, all the points are very well covered. But couple of additions. One example of Prahalad Maharaj is, there is one saying in Bhagavad Gita where we say that the Pandita Samadarshina. So that means he sees equally, everyone he sees equally, whether it is demon, whether it is animal, whether it is even any deity and any stone form, anything, everywhere he sees Krishna. Just to give an example, if you go for a walking, one flower is there. Wow, what a wonderful flower. When he sees Krishna's hand in this. When two dogs play when we are walking, wow, what a wonderful creature. And how Krishna has created. And always he thinks of Krishna in anything what he comes across. But we, in general, in our Kali Yuga, only when we try, in our busy schedules, we only try, if we see any temple, we give on chumma or something like that, like we do. Or like Brahmanandam, come, like he does. I don't know whether you guys have seen that movie or not. But the point is, we need to see, that is the greatest quality what Prahlad has, that he sees Krishna in everything, literally everything. So that was one of his great quality. Other thing was Prashantam. Prashantam means he's a Prashantam signified, personified, I should say. Prashantam personified. Why I am saying Prashantam is, there are two words here. One is Shantam, other is Prashantam. Anyone can tell the difference between Shantam and Prashantam? Any idea? So let me go with Vardhini Mataji only. Do you know the difference between Shantam and Prashantam?
No, Prabhuji. I've already told I don't know Telugu that much.
No, Hindi at least. Shant और प्रशांत के बीच में फर्क क्या है? हिंदी भी मालूम नहीं? So you quoted Hindi quotes very well. So I was just thinking you might be knowing. Anyway, that's okay. See, Shantam and Prashant. Anyone else, Prabhuji and Mataji, what is the difference between Shantam and Prashantam? Prasad Prabhu, Lakshmi Mataji, Krishna Prabhu. Anyone? What is the difference between Shantam and Prashantam? Wild guess. Okay. So Shantam and Prashantam means, if generally if you are in a situation where there are no unprovoking situations, and where all the environment around you is conducive, and you are Shant. Being peaceful when there are no provoking situations, that is obvious you will be Shant only. Like that famous character in, I think, fun F2 or Fun Frustration, Antega he says, right? Like that, in any situations he is Shantam only. There is no provoking situations. There are no provoking situations, and you are quiet and peaceful. That is Shantam. But Prashantam is the meaning, even in provoking situations, you are able to maintain the composure, like Prahlad Maharaj. Where, I mean, how much, despite having that much punishments given by his father, either through snakes or through elephant or through fire or any other mode, he has given a lot of punishment. But despite that, he was calm and composed, and he didn't have any animosity. They did something, I will do return to something. He was completely surrendered and dependent on Lord Krishna. So that is the difference between Shantam and Prashantam. Shantam, there are no provoking situations, but you are calm. You are calm. I mean, there is no need for you to be agitated when the environment around you is peaceful. But when the environment around you is not around you is not peaceful, then also if you are able to maintain the composure, then it is called Prashantam. So Prahlad Maharaj, the second quality is Prashantam. In his name itself, he is having Prahalad, Prashantam. So that is one of the main difference, that Prashantam and seeing everywhere. Pandita Samadarshina, a perfect example. And one more thing, what Vardhini Mataji has quoted is Narada Muni, you might not have seen any situation or any instances where a guru is taking an example of his own devotee and glorifying him. Generally, there are so many devotees whom Prasad Prabhu, whom Narad Muni has guided, or he is a spiritual master for so many devotees. But he never glorified any of his devotees in front of in front of lot of gathering. But Prahlad Maharaj is the one who was glorified by Narada Muni in the kingdom of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Generally, you never see, though he has been spiritual master for Vishwamitra, Mrugahari. There are a lot of so many devotees are there whom were groomed, or whom were whose spiritual master was Narada Muni. But never Narada Muni has glorified as such in a sabha where my devotee is see like that, my devotee is see like that. He never glorified his own disciple. But Prahlad Maharaj is the one who was glorified by Narada Muni in front of Yudhishthira Maharaj when he was asking a couple of questions. So that's the greatness of Prahlad Maharaj. And when, as I mentioned in Bhagavatam, gopis of Vrindavana had only 5 chapters covered in the 5th canto. But Prahlad Maharaj, it was almost 10 chapters covered. That was the greatness of Prahlad Maharaj. I mean, that sort of situations where kids, I mean, we can't even imagine, right? A 5-year-old kid, how can he become a devotee? How can he remember Lord? But no, Prabhuji and Mataji, there are cases, there are examples we have seen. I mean, I think couple of days back, I've sent the same message for Vardhini Mataji. I've kept one just to correlate. Okay, one boy, I mean, he's almost 5 to 6 years old. A Chaitanya Charitamrita course was going on. I mean, it was 2 weeks back. A Chaitanya Charitamrita session was going on, and he was for continuously for 1.5 to 2 hours, he was listening to that with a rapt attention. When that guy, that boy, really, I was really very in awe of that small kid. I mean, I don't know, even elders can sit that long. As I said, Chaitanya Charitamrita is a PhD. I mean, if Bhagavad Gita is graduation and Bhagavatam is, Bhagavad Gita is schooling and Bhagavatam is graduation, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is a PhD of devotion. So that kind of sessions, that boy was listening, and I sent that photo of that person, that small kid in our group, just to show that it's not something that it's a mythological story where it was done in that some other yuga, and this yuga it is not possible. When actually this devotion we need to introduce to the kids at a very small age. But unfortunately, we can't even blame our parents, where our parents also might not be having a proper scriptural knowledge. Even there might be situations, if we ask, why are we doing this devotion? Adi manchidi kabatti manam cheyali ante. But they don't know the reasoning behind why the devotion is to be done, why it is good. And a lot of parents we come across, we should not blame our parents for that, but that's the situation we are in. So we should know if any questions, any spiritual questions are being asked by our kids, we should be in a situation to tell them why devotion is good and why we need to seek God's love. But the thing is, God's love is always there, but we are the people who are ignoring and who don't want to be with Him. Okay, that's the one point. And another was another point. What I wanted to convey was at least for Pandavas in the during the distress, at least they were among the five. They were there for each other to help. But this is a Prahlad Maharaj was only one alone 5-year-old kid. And I don't know. You should understand the really. We need to understand that situation. When if by only speaking, you can't understand the pain. But he's the only alone. He was a completely dependent on Krishna. Whereas Pandavas, at least there was someone to discuss. Kunti Maharani or other brothers were there to share some difficulties. When we are there, some solacing shoulder is there for listening the problems. Even if no one is there, that's another torture. Other mental, it's a depression kind of a thing. So sorrow is there, but no one is there to listen to us. Then that's another very sad part, So we need to understand that. And another thing what I wanted to mention was recently there was I don't know how many of you know Milka Singh or Mikha Singh has passed away, right? Everyone knows it. Do you know who that he is? Vardhani Mataji, you know who is Milka Singh? What's his other name?
Flying Sikh.
Yes, very good. So the Flying Sikh, yeah, that's a thing. So I just was curious to tell this when I was reading that message. I think their sports authority, Indian Sports Authority, they have given a message after his sad demise. He was almost 95 years old and he died. He left his body. So the message given by the Sports Authority of India is this: he fought hard, but God has his ways, and it was perhaps true love and companionship with both our mother Nirmalji and now dad have passed away in a matter of days, 5 days, something. They have given a message saying that he fought hard, but God has his ways. So you know what? Only people remember God. I mean, especially you might notice either if any celebrity is passed away or if some important person is passed away, then only generally people think of God. God has other plans, so that's the reason why they might have taken. God has done very bad to him, like that they will say. But only at the time of death only they remember God. But what is anyone interested? What God is interested? Are we even realizing that God is really waiting for us? I mean, I am just trying to say that this is spirituality or God's knowledge is not something. I mean, most of the people in our current society, they think that even it's not that I am great, but even my parents do say, "Yentra ippude neeku." This is a very most common comment what they quote. But spirituality or God's knowledge is not something we should understand at the age of say 50, 60 or 70. It's not that. I mean, it's not that easy. I mean, because 60 to 70 years age, people like Srila Prabhupada could do that. But believe me, we are not that great. And this is something we need to imbibe that from very young age. And Prahlad Maharaj is a very apt example for spirituality, where we need to understand the knowledge or have the faith on God since our childhood. We should know that. We should understand that. Okay, so that's one thing. And one more point what I wanted to convey when I heard to Vardhani Mataji was Prahlad Maharaj. Do you know who is the mother of Prahlad Maharaj? Vardhani Mataji?
Kayadu.
Kayadu, yeah, that's right. So one example was he was in the mother's home and he heard, even without seeing his spiritual master, he heard his words, and in the womb itself he developed it. And it is not something that it happened only in that yuga. Even in our current yuga as well, you might be seeing when a woman is pregnant, they take extra care not only internally but also externally. Even the houses also, they in our Indian culture, they very take good care, especially once the woman is pregnant, they feed her like anything. They won't make her work very much, and they will try to have an environment very where she's happy, and she's not in a pressure. It's not that she was in a pressure earlier, but they will take extra care. And the point here, what I wanted to convey was, Shravanam is that important. There is not a need that spiritual master should be always there in front of us to guide us. Even his Vani is very important. There is no need of physical presence required. If you are 100% solely believing in your Guru, you should listen to him. Listening is more important. Physical presence, okay, when only someone is physically present, then only I will hear. It doesn't work that way. That's what Guru Parampara is. That's the greatness of Guru Parampara. Even probably during initiation, or when we take Diksha, then that's the time when we actually take the Diksha, and in front of our Guru we see eye to eye to him. Of course, I mean, though I have not taken, I'm very inclined to take it, but I have gone to um, what is Italy's capital, Vardhini Mataji? Any idea? Italy capital? You are on mute. No, no idea. I think it was Italy capital is Vienna. I don't remember exactly. By the way, I mean 2 years back, I went to Italy capital. I'm not able to recollect the place. I think it is Vienna, I believe. Vienna. So there, I went to Prabhupada Desh. There is one small farm community where my aspiring spiritual guru Radhanath Maharaj has come there, and he has given initiation there. So for a lot of devotees, and I was seeing that ceremony when he was giving initiation to the devotees, and that is the moment where you see eye to eye with your spiritual master. And it was a wonderful moment. You'll be getting a new name and all. So that's the only place where we see the Guru. But otherwise, after that, we rarely see eye to eye with a Guru, with our spiritual or Diksha Guru. When that's the greatness, that Vani is very important. Shravanam, Vani is very important. Is listening to the words of your Guru is very important, rather than physically seeing it. It's not only applicable now, but also even at the time of Prahlad Maharaj, when he was in Rome, though he was not seeing his spiritual master, but he was hearing, and he got an inspiration, and that's how he got inclination to the names of the Lord. So these are the main thing. And one point, even Vardhini Mataji has mentioned about Mayavadi influence. Yeah, Mayavadi influence is there, and there might be situations where, see, Mayavadis, they might be very good at language. అంటే దాన్ని ఏమంటారు, ఉచ్చారణ, మంత్రోచ్చారణ కానివ్వండి, మన భాష యొక్క యు అండర్స్టాండ్ తెలుగు, రైట్ Vardhini Mataji, if I speak? Understand, but okay. So that's how when తన ఉచ్చారణ కానివ్వండి, లేకపోతే శ్లోకాలు అనర్గళంగా మాట్లాడటం కానివ్వండి, అనర్గళంగా పాడటం కానివ్వండి. There are a lot of people, I mean, Mayavadi, they will be looking very knowledgeable as well. They might be having lakhs of followers as well, but when they are not speaking as per Shastras, we are immediately supposed to reject. Recently I have sent out a video also, one video. One video, I don't know how many of you have seen it. He was saying that we should eat merry, drink merry, and leave as early as possible. Even after eating, what will you do by following that eating proper vegetarian food and all, and staying for 100 years and all? And for that, a lot of people also clap. There might be a lot of followers as well, but you should not, it doesn't work that way. We should not go to the gurus or any fake gurus who are not under Sampradaya. Under Sampradaya, we should not opt. If not this time, any time in future, God will be taking a special treatment for those kind of people. Make a note of it. So we should always listen to the people who are there in Sampradaya. So yeah, this is the points what I wanted to convey, Vardhini Mataji. But really, I'm really actually I didn't expect that this session would be this expressive. To be frank, when actually Vinay Prabhu has finished his session in 30 to 45 minutes, but really, Mataji, you are really covered it very well, and it was structured also very well, and you have combined that structure with the real-time examples. I really liked that. That was very nice, Vardhini Mataji. Okay, yeah. So Lakshmi Mataji, Prasad Prabhu, Krishna Prabhu, any insights, any realizations, any points you wanted to add? I think you are speaking on mute. If you are. Prasad Prabhu, వినపడుతుందా?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Ah,
can you
Mataji.
hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you now, Mataji. Please.
Yeah, firstly, my hearty congratulations to Vardhini. It was a wonderful session. As Prabhuji mentioned, it was very expressive, and you have given examples, real-time examples, such that the information rests with anybody who's listening to the session. So really appreciate that. But there's one small thing. I don't know if you're staying abroad and that's the reason you don't speak Telugu. Is that the reason?
No. Just the reason is that I'm a South Indian, but then my neighborhood, it has always been, and the school also, there were more Hindi friends of mine. So I'm much into Hindi and other North Indian languages.
Because you idolize as Nidai Sevani Mataji, and she is a linguist. Basically, she's a Gujarati. She's married to a Bengali. She speaks in 4 different languages, and Telugu being our mother tongue, we speak at home, right? So, because I've also been in North, and if you take Mahesh Prabhu, I was so surprised. He, in fact, reads and writes Telugu, which has been his subject. So I think we should get inspired and at least, speak our mother tongue. So that's the only small suggestion I wanted to give you, because you seem to be very expressive. So if you also do it in your own native language, it will be very good. So, I mean, giving respect to all the languages is important, but at the same time, your Telugu being our mother tongue, we should also respect that. So that's what I wanted to say. But otherwise, wonderful session. Keep it up.
Thanks, Mataji. Yeah, Prasad Prabhu.
Nothing, Prabhu, nothing to say. It was very good.
Okay. Fine. Fine, Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. I think I need to take some tips on how to prepare a presentation from you, I believe, after some time for any future sessions. It was really very, very structured and very designed it well. I mean, I really like the flow of it. Okay. Yeah. So, Vinay Prabhu has helped you, Mataji? Or you alone prepared?
Because as we are in school, we are school students, so we keep on doing presentations on various subjects. So.
Okay. Which school are you from?
Global Edge.
Global Edge. Okay. That's good. Okay, so let's close this with Narsimha Arati. Let me bring it on screen. And by the way, just before we close it, I wanted to share something. I mean, when the Prahlad Maharaj topic was told by Vardhini Mataji, I wanted to. Today we had a good session of one. Sitaram Prabhuji. Let me show you. Actually, I just wanted to give some small 1 minute information about him. Are you able to see him? Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, he's Sitaram Prabhu. Today we had a good Bhagavatam session from him, and he has 4 small kids. Almost they are 6, 7, 8 and all his kids are studying in Mayapur Gurukul. So he has such a faith in the Vedic system that he joined all his 4 kids in the Mayapur Gurukul, where you might be seeing in the other yugas, people, students used to go in Gurukul, all were shaved with Shikha and all this are there with all these 4 kids. So today we had a session with him and we requested him to show all his 4 kids. So he has shown. It was looking like he's a Lord Brahma and all the 4 are Sanat Kumaras. That's the feeling what we got when we have seen it today in the video. So So when the Prahlad, it was very apt session today. Prahlad's session was there, and we are meeting 4 small kids, Sitaram Prabhuji's kids. It was nice to see them. So yeah, this is something, and let me start with end with Narsimha Bharati. Okay. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlabalaadadaine Anaganyakashipurakshaha Shilakankanakalaye Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlabalaadadaine Hiranyakashipurakshaha Shilakankanakalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Bahe Narsimha Hrudaye Narsimha Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapadye Avakara Kamalavare Naka Adhuta Singha Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhanga Vishavadrita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Avakara Kamalavare Naka Adhuta Singha Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhanga Vishavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsimha Dev Narsimha Dev Narsimha Dev Jaya Narsimha Dev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रीला अभय चरण भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मधुरा धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा मैये की जय। यमुना मैये की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। बृहद मृदंगा की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So Prabhujis, thank you once again for joining this call, and again we will meet again next week with some other topic, some other Mahajan, with some other devotee. So let's see. When I don't know next week everunnaru naku teliyadu. Let me just quickly have a look. I think Vardhini Mataji has raised a bar. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Next is. I think ideally it is Varma Prabhu. Let me speak to him once, or I will see if my son Dhruv will take it. Yeah, fine, Prabhujis and Matajis. Let's connect again next week. Thanks for joining the call, and we will meet again next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks once again, Prabhuji.